What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily. So the Pixel 7a has been out for more than a month now. I'd forgive you if you didn't know that, or maybe forgot about this phone already. Google didn't send the 7a out to tons of Team Pixel members like they usually would for unboxing videos and stuff, so there's been less coverage and interest. Google is also now all in on the Pixel Fold that just launched, which is certainly a polarizing device and not really intended for the average consumer. I think Google went about all of this all wrong. The Pixel A devices, in my opinion, are what Google does best, and they are fumbling a potential dominant market position in the sub $500 Android space, especially here in the US. At $499 or $469 or $449, whatever the price is when you're watching this video, the Pixel A is one of the few affordable devices on the market that I think gives people everything they'd want in an Android device without unnecessary gimmicks and without sacrificing specs and features to cut the price down. And like I said, especially here in the US, where our sub $500 phones are few and far between, the Pixel 7a is far and away the best option, and really is one of the only options. This phone most closely competes with Samsung's A series, which you guys know are great devices, the A54 especially. I guess the Pixel also technically competes with some of Motorola's phones like the Edge, but Moto devices across the board are just terrible. No one in the US buys any OnePlus smartphones, and we don't get anything from Xiaomi or Oppo or any of their sub-brands here either. But rather than positioning themselves as the best and only $500 Android phone for the entire population of the US, and going after Samsung's A series and S series customers in particular, Google is for some reason trying to convert iPhone customers, which doesn't work, and at the same time shove their $1,800 folding phone into the hands of celebrities to advertise who probably won't ever use that phone beyond snapping a quick pic for Instagram. All this is to say, I just don't understand what Google is doing. If you want one of the best Android devices on the market that doesn't come with a four-figure price tag, the Pixel 7a is it. But Google themselves don't seem interested in conveying that message to you all that well, so I guess it'll be up to me. I'll get into all the great things this phone offers in a second, but the quick summary is that the 7a is just, once again, that comfortable and compact-sized, flagship spec-powered, ultimate picture taker with the best software experience and years of early updates and long-term support that truly make it an incredible value. By the way, you see that excessive heat warning? Summer is officially here in Las Vegas. Temperatures are quickly surpassing 100 degrees, so to keep cool, I'm continuing to use my Ice 3 neck fan from Ranvu. A lot of people use these neck fans in Las Vegas, and like 50 of you snagged the Amazon Lightning deal from a couple of weeks ago on this, but if you missed that, the Ice 3 is currently back on sale for its lowest price yet. The Ice 3 is an AI-powered automated cooling and heating wearable with additional health and wellness capabilities, and it is the most advanced personal neck fan available. It has 4 Ice Max engines with 7 upward and downward air ducts that blow a constant stream of cool air all around you. There's also 4 core cooling semiconductors on the sides, that part that touches your skin, and this gets cold to the touch within seconds. You'll feel comfortable even in temperatures exceeding 105 degrees, and if you're in a cold environment, the Ice 3 does the opposite. You get a constant stream of warm air paired with a heated neckband. The Ice 3 has a full color touchscreen built in for controlling all the heating and cooling modes, and you can also view other health and wellness measurements too, like your heart rate, steps, and blood oxygen level. And one more thing, the Ice 3 is AI powered. So if it senses that you're warm or that it's a bit cold out, it can automatically start cooling you down or warming you up. Ranvu's Ice 3 is once again offered as a lightning deal on Amazon through the weekend. Perfect timing for these hot summer months, so definitely jump on that deal, especially if you missed the last one. I'll leave a link to it down below in the video description, and thanks so much to Ranvu for sponsoring this video. So I've always felt that the Pixel A series smaller size is one of its first big advantages. The 7a is a 6.1 inch device, that's the screen size from corner to corner, and while it's not exactly tiny, it's still up to a half an inch smaller than most other Android devices. And in the hand, you can reach the sides and edges easily without having to shift your grip or stretch your thumb. It's also more comfortable in my pants pocket, so there's that. Really, the only negative with the overall design is that the screen is surrounded by those thick black borders that serve as a gentle reminder that it isn't a flagship phone. With a screen-to-body ratio of not even 82%, some of the phone's size is wasted space base. With slimmer bezels, it could have been a sleeker, thinner, more modern looking device, more screen with less distraction, or a smaller overall size. And weirdly enough, the 6a actually had slimmer bezels, so kind of a bummer to take a step backwards. The rear of the Pixel 7a offered a slight design refresh, though the camera bar, seemingly Google's signature design cue at the moment, stuck around, albeit in a less visually jarring way. It's thick and sticks out a little, but fortunately, I haven't scratched it or dinged it yet. The whole phone is held up fine case-free. The back cover is plastic, though it's always felt to me quite premium, and the aluminum frame props up the premium vibe a little more. It's overall a good-looking phone that's built really well. It's IP67 water and dust resistant too, and Google also added wireless charging for the first time on an A device, a feature that isn't really found on many other inexpensive mid-rangers. Unfortunately, while wireless charging was added, the headphone jack remains absent, though that's not unexpected. Google needs to sell you some Pixel Buds after all, and the 7a also lacks SD card support. Again, not unusual for any smartphone nowadays, especially from Google, who is also happy to sell you various cloud storage options via Drive or Photos, but comparatively, Samsung's A54, for example, still has its SD card slot, and the option of more built-in storage too. The Pixel 7a has a sole 128GB storage choice, so just something else to consider. Now, to be quite honest, while I truly feel that most everything else on the Pixel 7a is nearly flagship caliber, the display is one area where it sort of falls under the mid-range or even semi-budget category. I should first mention that the in-display fingerprint sensor on the screen that yielded complaints and frustrations from previous Pixel users is much better on this phone. I almost never fight it, and to me it feels like the thing that's been most improved. The display itself is a relatively decent 2400 by 1080 resolution OLED panel with regular HDR support and a 90Hz refresh rate. And for most folks who aren't particularly picky, it does deliver a great viewing experience overall. I think its biggest advantage is just the fact that because it's a smaller size with the 1080 resolution, you get a much higher pixel density than other devices, around 429 pixels per inch, so it might just look sharper. But other phones in this price range, both the likes of Samsung's A54 and countless international devices that, yeah, I already said we don't get, but should still compare anyway, offer Super AMOLED screens at a higher brightness with a 120Hz refresh rate. I realize that Google has to give this phone some lower tier specs to make it an A device and justify the regular Pixel 7 and 7 Pro still, but I actually don't think smartphone displays are what Google has been that concerned with anyway, and I don't even think you should opt for the 7a specifically for the screen. It's a fine display for what it is, bright enough, colorful enough, but it's not the standout spec for this phone. That's more so the performance or the software or the camera. Speaking of performance, the Pixel 7a is powered by Google's own Tensor G2 chip and 8GB of RAM. Essentially the same exact array of components found inside the flagship Pixel 7. And that's great. With the 7a, you get the equivalent of a flagship powerhouse of a phone for a few $100s less. That means you get a fast, fluid, and fully capable device that doesn't ever feel like you opted for the budget or cheaper option. This phone is as good as any $1,000 Android device, and perhaps even better if you consider Google's own Android experience to be a plus in and of itself, which I personally do. Between its Google-specific software add-ons to the few years of being first with the Android updates and additional years of security support, I think Pixel devices cater towards people who both want the latest and greatest new features immediately when they come out, and who also want their phone to be sort of a long-term investment, which the Pixel certainly is. Compare this to, say, any sub-$500 Moto device, and it's really not a comparison at all. Samsung has done a better job recently with software and updates, similarly pledging multiple years of major updates for even their cheaper A-series phones, but you gotta want, or at least like, One UI and Samsung's ecosystem, and you aren't getting the highest end processor there. Here you get it all and then some, and that's one of the big reasons why the Pixel 7a is such a good value, and also why I think people continue to choose this phone for the long term. Now, when it comes to battery life, I recognize that while the 7a has been fine for me, for others, there seems to be a bigger drop-off from the likes of the regular Pixel 7, for example. Similar phone with similar specs and similar battery size. At 4,385 milliamps, it's technically a smidge smaller size battery, though insignificantly so. It's just that the phone tends to pull lower hours of screen on time than it probably should. It still lasts me the full day, and Google's various battery optimization tools and low, super low, and super very low power modes help if you need them, but this just isn't a phone that's going to last like an extra long day with travel or anything like that. And unfortunately, it takes forever to charge back up. I get a little more than 30% after 30 minutes plugged in, and a full charge takes 2 hours from the 18-watt plug, which is as high as this phone supports. So not great. Like I said though, at least there's wireless charging. Last but not least, the standout feature for the Pixel 7a, and all Pixel devices really, is the camera. And this isn't due to some crazy hardware or gimmicky super zoom features or raw shooting modes used by the world's most famous directors. The Pixel 7a just takes a great pic every time, no matter the conditions, and it outshoots any and all devices in its price point and beyond, in detail, clarity, color balance, and all the other important metrics that quantify a good-looking image. The hardware did change on this phone. 64 megapixel main lens and 13 megapixel ultra-wide are new, and that's unusual for Google. 13 megapixel selfie shooter also was an upgrade, but there weren't any new camera features added necessarily, so inside the app, it's the same array of stuff. Functional stuff though, even for the everyday person. And even the more advanced stuff, like long exposure, is just a one-tap capture to get you some interesting pics. I still think with video, for example, the iPhone does it better. Pixel's a little shaky, a little focus happy, but for just whipping out this phone and snapping a picture, I don't think I'd pick anything else. And in a lot of blind camera tests, actually, people preferred the pictures taken on the Pixel 7a, even over the flagship Pixels or Samsung Ultras or iPhone Pros at times. So whatever fancy image processing Google does here on their Pixel A's, they're doing it really well. Overall, if I were Google's marketing team, I would, to put it bluntly, be shoving the Pixel 7a into the faces of anyone and everyone who wants a great Android device at a relatively affordable price. Here in the US, that's a lot of people. They could absolutely take a chunk out of not just Samsung's A series customers, but flagship S series users too, who are tired of paying $800 or $900 for a phone. They could put Motorola out of the smartphone game entirely, though Motorola is basically doing that themselves with their crappy phones. OnePlus isn't even a competition in the US really, and why bother trying to convert iPhone users? There's no need for that. Google should just try and make their Pixel A the #1 Android device. It easily could be based on specs and price, but I guess Google is more concerned now with acquiring the approximately 6 whole customers who might spend $1,800 on a foldable. Oh well. What do you guys think? Is the Pixel 7a still one of the best Android devices on the market? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys later.